You're listening to 90.9 FM WIRQ, Irondequoit's home for new music and great classics. But for now, it's another episode of Cuse in the Morning. Happy Wednesday morning. I almost lost my track of day there. It is April 29th, 2015 for the live radio show / podcast and whenever you're watching it. So, it is, again, like I said, the week of April 29th, or really the week of the 26th, whatever. Or 20, I don't know. Anyways, tomorrow is the NFL Draft, for those who don't know. That's April 30th, so we got a lot coming on. And I'm just going to go right in the swing of things. There's been a lot of sports news lately, and it's very interesting. From many different sports perspectives. Moving from the NFL, New York Jets getting fined $100,000 for an issue with Darrelle Revis before he joined the team, so they're kind of put the burden on that. And as well as the draft is tomorrow, like I said. And then moving to MLB, very interesting with the whole thing going on in the news right now with the Baltimore riots. The Baltimore Oriels have a home game today, I think. Yeah, a home game today against the White Sox, and no one's allowed to go. There's not going to be public, the public is not allowed in the stadium because of the riots that are happening. And it'll be the first game, I believe, in Major League Baseball history where it'll be an empty stadium except the teams and the umps. And the only audience will be the people watching on TV. So, I mean, it's just going back to like playing when you were a kid. It's like you're playing in the backyard, playing backyard baseball, and you don't really have a crowd. So that'll be a very interesting game. I don't think I'll be able to watch it, but I do want to watch the highlights and see how it looks. An empty stadium when you're playing baseball in the game that counts in the regular season. It's gotta throw both teams off. So there's no word on the other game on Friday of what's gonna happen if the Orioles will be playing with public there. If the riots continue if they continue, then I guess there's gonna be another game where it's gonna be private. I don't know. But speaking of sports, obviously, anyways, NFL Draft is tomorrow. So it's happening in Chicago, and for the first time, I think it's not in New York City this year, which I was very surprised about. But it is in Chicago. I've been looking at NFL's Facebook page and Twitter, and they've been doing a lot of the rookies that they've been going in their perspective and stuff like that, what they do before the draft, and it looks pretty exciting and very nerve-wracking. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who get the first pick, Tennessee Titans get the second, Jacksonville gets the third, and the Jets get the fourth. So those are the top four picks. And you got guys like Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, and they're the top quarterbacks of the NFL draft that I believe they get drafted within the first 5 rounds at least. So it makes you wonder who is going to where. And all signs are pointing that the Buccaneers are going to get Jameis Winston for the first pick. But again, then there's Marcus Mariota, who they worked out with as well. It's gonna be down to the wire, and I will guarantee this, in my opinion, my prediction, that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will select a quarterback. And I was very broad, but they will select a quarterback on their first pick. And if it's Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota is either going to the Titans or the Jets. The Jaguars will not acquire him because history is due to repeat itself, and the Jaguars are not good at picking draft picks when they have had great opportunities. For example, in 2011, when J.J. Watt was selected by the Texans, a pick after the Jaguars had a pick, and they didn't pick Watt. Look how successful he is. 2012 draft, 3rd round, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected a punter, and next pick was Seattle as Russell Wilson. So history is due to repeat itself, and they're just not good with draft picks. So if Winston is picked by the Buccaneers first round, or in the first pick of the first round by Tampa, Mariota is either going to the Jets or the Titans. That is how I see it. So the draft starts, I believe, at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and it goes on for a while. It is a 3-day event, but really the tomorrow is the big day. It's the first couple rounds, and the draft is 7 rounds. I mean, if you really want to watch after 3 rounds, I mean, that's when it becomes like, okay, those are just whatever picks. And don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of people in the draft that have been round 3 or less that have done great. But I mean, it gets a little boring when you're watching a draft for a long time, especially for a couple days. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I usually watch the first round at least, and then I kind of just turn it off, and then just, oh well, okay, like, all right, the big picks have already been selected, and I know many people do that as well. But there were a lot of sports last night, and for those in my last episode, I was talking about hockey, and now we know one of the games in the East side of who's going to be playing in the next round. It'll be the New York Rangers hosting the Washington Capitals, which many people were disappointed because they wanted the Islanders to beat the Capitals because it would have been a more competitive series because the Rangers and Islanders have it's the New York Battle of New York, and it's interesting because they both share the same home stadium, so there would be no traveling in that series. But the Caps prevailed and beat the Islanders, so Washington heads over to New York, which they played this season and were not extremely well against. So that series starts, I think, either tomorrow or Friday. Don't get my word on it. But anyways, speaking of other playoff sports like the NBA, there were a couple of Game 5s last night. There were the Spurs and the Clippers, which I heard was a phenomenal game. Spurs beat the Clippers in Los Angeles 111-107, and the Houston Rockets win against Dallas Mavericks 103-94. I do not know who won the series. Yes, the Rockets won the series last night 4-1, and the Spurs are leading the series 3-2. So there'll be a Game 6 probably Friday. But moving on, other sports news that happened last night. A lot of baseball games, obviously, because we're back in the swing of things of Major League Baseball. D-backs destroyed the Rockies 12-5. There's a lot of high-score affairs last night. The Nationals beat the Braves 13-12. The Blue Jays beat the Red Sox 11-8. Yankees beat the Rays 4-2. Astros beat the Padres 14-3. Giants beat the Dodgers 2-1. Mets fall to the Marlins in an eight-inning double by Miami, which I watched that game, and I was cringing my teeth and pulling my hair watching it. Mets lose 4-3. The Royals beat the Indians 11-5. Reds beat the Brewers 4-2. The A's beat the Angels 6-2. I'll move to the Angels in a second. And the Orioles and White Sox game was postponed for today. That's going to be because of the riots. And the Mariners beat the Rangers 2-1. And as well, there's still more. The Twins beat the Tigers 3-2. Cubs beat the Pirates 6-2. Pirates are struggling this season early on. Cardinals beat the Phillies 11-5. Another team that's struggling is Philadelphia. And that'll wrap up baseball from last night. So sticking on with baseball, I mentioned the Los Angeles Angels, is because they recently just did a trade yesterday with the Texas Rangers. Josh Hamilton, who moved from the Rangers to the Angels, is going back to Texas and is playing for the Rangers for the remainder of his career, most likely. There was a trade yesterday. It worked out, and Josh Hamilton's coming back to Texas, which is very interesting when a player comes back to the team they started out with when they get traded, because it's not the same mindset, and it's like the whole thing with LeBron. He went back to Cleveland, and I mean, he's still a great player, and the team's in the playoffs, but it's like, I don't know how you would accept it in a way. Especially with LeBron, because him moving to Miami on his own choice, he didn't want to resign with Cleveland, and all the fans burning his jerseys and all this different stuff. It wasn't as bad with Texas, because I guess, I don't know. Josh Hamilton's back with the Rangers, and I think he spent 2 seasons with the Angels before a year and a half with the Angels before being traded to Los Angeles, and now he's back in Texas. So, but what's on my mind still, the draft and that Orioles game that's going to be postponed. And I mean, it's history in the making, but it's not good history. And I really wish they would air it on ESPN, because I don't think anyone around here gets the Baltimore Orioles baseball channel or the Orioles channel around that area. So just an empty stadium when you're playing an actual game. To me, it wouldn't feel like a home game. It would just be, I mean, your ballpark, but there's no crowd. And then people were thinking that it's going to affect the game, and if the riots head to the stadium or stuff like that, which, I mean, they've died down, but it's more to the point that it's just an interesting matchup and how it's going to be played. I can't tell you another game in sports that has no crowd that's been televised. So, again, that's happening today, and I'll definitely keep in touch with that and and watch the highlights at least. I just want to see how it looks. And, I mean, whoever wins, wins. I mean, I don't follow the Oriels or the White Sox, but it'd just be a mind-boggling game, and it'd be very stressful. I think very different and awkward. Awkward would be a good word for it, because it's just the fact that, I mean, that's what's happening, and there's an empty crowd. There's no crowd. There's an empty stadium. I mean, that's nothing more you can go with it, but nothing more I can go on with it. But I mean, that's that. But if you want something to watch tomorrow, yes, especially NFL draft, there's gonna be a bunch of baseball games. Hockey still comes back tonight, I think, with other games as well. And I'm gonna take a step back to what I mentioned earlier on the top of the show. It was the New York Jets. We all know they got Darrelle Revis back from New England. That's another player that returned to his old team. Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie, both the star corners in New York, and then they went separate ways, is now back. Both of them are back in New York, and the secondary is looking decent in New York. But there was an incident with Darrelle Revis before he moved to the Jets again, and now I guess I don't know what happened, but the responsibility is put onto the Jets now, and they're being fined $100,000 because of something he did that's not with the team when he was with the team at that time. The Jets are fighting it right now, but it is what it is. I mean, it stinks, but with a football team or a franchise, $100,000 is nothing. But that's been all in the NFL news as of late. And there's also been more talk, especially in the NFL, with free agencies, and then there's been known there's going to be there's big trades around the draft. I mean, just in general trades, and it's like there's been rumors on a lot of things on who's going where. A lot of ridiculous ones too. Like one of them said that Seattle was going to trade Russell Wilson, and I was like, what? And I mean, everyone has their own opinion or something up in their head, but there's been one that is very convincing. That Phillip Rivers will not be a part of the San Diego Chargers this coming season, and it's gotten so heated and so public that the San Diego Chargers GM had a press conference and said, "No, we're not getting rid of him," but other sources say otherwise. Apparently, Phillip Rivers does not want to be on that team anymore. Or he's undecided. But the general manager is saying he's staying. He's our quarterback. But at the same time, how much left has that kid got in the tank? Because he's had a great career in San Diego, but he's had a couple playoff victories. That's about it. And he hasn't made the Super Bowl. He hasn't made a conference championship game, and he's a great quarterback. But I think it's time, especially with rumors with other quarterbacks like Drew Brees. But Drew Brees is a different story. He's had a little bit more success. But for Phillip Rivers, should he stay in San Diego or should he not? If he went to San Diego, or if he left San Diego, I don't know where he would go, and I don't know where he would fit in, because it's just when it's history due to repeat itself again. When a star quarterback has been on a team for a very long time, look at Matt Hasselbeck from the Seattle Seahawks. He spent his entire career with Seattle. He had a Super Bowl appearance, didn't win, but he's had a couple conference championship games that been memorable. One against Green Bay, about 10 years ago, I think now. And now he played for Tennessee. His career dropped, and that was really it. And now he's playing for the Colts in his 13th or 14th season, but he's playing backup. So that's a big fear, especially for a franchise quarterback like Phillip Rivers. If he were to leave San Diego, where would he go, and would he play backup or not? And that's a tough decision, because if you're ready to move on from a team, but you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know if you're going to be benched, but you don't want to be put on a team like a Tampa Bay team that you're going to be the starter, but you don't have anyone to throw to, and your team's going to be struggling. So I think Phillip Rivers is better off in San Diego. He's guaranteed the starting job. There's no competition in San Diego for quarterback. So, I mean, if he stays in San Diego, that's great. It's better for the Chargers on that point, at least for the last few years of his career. He's been here for a while. And then moving on, and then also with the trade rumors with Drew Brees, that Drew Brees was going to get traded to the Bills, which I don't know if that would ever happen, and I don't think it will. The Saints GM even said that he's not going to be traded, and then even with the whole Jimmy Graham trade to Seattle, there was rumors, Brees is gone. But I do believe that if Drew Brees gets traded, he'll have more success than Phillip Rivers, but it'll be very, very weird because if he went to Buffalo, just imagine the publicity the Bills will have more than they have now. Getting LaShawn McCoy, Matt Castle, and if they got Drew Brees, can you believe that? If they just let that sink in for a second. Think about Drew Brees, all-star quarterback, Super Bowl winner with the New Orleans Saints against the Colts. He's done a lot in the NFL. He's passed Dan Marino in passing yards and of all time, and to the Buffalo Bills. Just it doesn't match, but it would be really cool to see. But I mean, everyone can dream, right? And Drew Brees sticking with New Orleans as now. So I'm gonna take a break. You're listening to Cuse in the Morning on 90.9 FM WIRQ. I'm going to take a break, like I said, and play you some song. I don't know. Maybe some Avenged Sevenfold to wake you up. Wake me up, because I am tired. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Here's Hail to the King on 90.9 FM WIRQ. Sit tight. You're listening to 90.9 FM WIRQ, Irondequoit's home for new music and great classics. Welcome back to Cuse in the Morning. I'm messing with a cord right now. Welcome back to Cuse in the Morning. And I was on the break and looking at the NHL Playoff schedule, and there is a game tonight. There's a Game 7 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Detroit Red Wings. Wow. Red Wings. And, I mean, that's been a great series from what I heard, and I completely forgot about it. I thought Tampa Bay won an advance against Detroit. Detroit pulled it off, and now the series is tied. Game 7's tonight. That's the only first-round game that's left. The rest of them are set here as the Rangers play the Caps. That's tomorrow night. It'll start off in the Garden. Let me scroll down here. As well as the Chicago Blackhawks playing the Minnesota Wild. That starts on Friday in Chicago. And as well as the Anaheim Ducks playing the Calgary Flames. That starts tomorrow in Anaheim. And as well as the Montreal Canadiens playing... If the Red Wings win tonight, they will play the Canadiens. If the Lightning win tonight, I will move up. If the Lightnings win tonight, they will play so the winner plays Montreal. So if the Red Wings win, it'll be in Montreal. If the Lightning wins, it'll be in Tampa. So winner plays the Canadiens, and that's it for now. Yes, that is it. So a lot of interesting series. The one series I know is going to get put off a lot is the Blackhawks and Wild, and it's because everyone's going to know Chicago's going to win. I mean, that's not really professional to say, but Chicago is the favorite. They are the number 3 seed. They dominated in their first series, and Minnesota I believe just barely won their series. And Minnesota's the team that's not really expected to go far in the playoffs, and they've gotten farther than anyone expected. They have the number 4 seed out of 6. But, I mean, Chicago is my pick to win that series. Anaheim, I believe, will shut out Calgary. They're the number 1 seed in the West over the Flames, who are number 3. I believe the Rangers will win the series against the Capitals, but that'll be a great series. That'll be the series to watch because Rangers and Caps are the first 2 seeds. Although the Caps have had struggles in the regular season against New York, it's playoffs. Everything is different in the playoffs. I will call it Rangers will win in 6 games. And that's how it's going to work. Now tonight, I mean in my opinion, but tonight I do believe that if Detroit has the momentum like they have, Detroit will win and will play Montreal. But Tampa Bay Lightning have been dominant all season. It's a very close one. That's why it's Game 7. I honestly cannot pick a winner, but if it does go to overtime, I will not be surprised. They are very, very even teams. So that's the NHL playoffs for you. Tonight, you have nothing else to do. I believe it's NBC or something like that. If you have cable, just scroll because that's what I do. It'll be the Lightning and Red Wings tonight, and then tomorrow round 2 begins. So, from that, we move on to, again, what I mentioned earlier, the NFL draft. I did my whole spiel on that if you're just tuning in or whatever. But anyways, draft tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Watch it. It'll be interesting if you're a football fan, obviously. And for those who have never watched the NFL draft before, don't watch it alone is my advice. Get a bunch of friends and watch the draft together, because that's what I used to do. And you have a lot more fun with that. But don't watch the draft alone. You'll catch yourself watching like the first 10 people selected, and then you'll get bored, and then you'll turn to something else. Probably like some other TV show on ABC or whatever you watch on your Thursday nights. But anyways, I'm slowly wrapping up here and stalling some time. But another thing to watch, baseball's on tonight. Orioles playing against the White Sox in that empty ballpark. Should be interesting, and hopefully the riots die down, and it'll be back to the swing of things. Mets play the Marlins tonight, and the Yankees play the Rays again as well. And, I mean, that's all for your New York sports for now, I guess. I don't know really what else is going on. Buffalo is not doing anything. They have their off-season workouts starting now. Training camp begins in August at Fisher, down 15 minutes down the road. So, I mean, that's that. Draft's coming up. Once the draft is over, it'll be more working on training camp. And that's when I feel like in the NFL, the draft is a big distraction from off-season workouts, and they're very, very important. And I believe the draft gets publicized more than it should, because you don't see any other sport draft that gets more publicized than the NFL one. MLB draft, you don't even hear of that. The NHL draft, has anyone heard of that? They have one. Then the NBA draft is pretty popular, but not as popular as the NFL draft. And I don't know why that is. I mean, maybe because NFL football is an American sport, but I mean so is baseball. But I don't know. Until then, I guess hang on for the publicity and SportsCenter, because if you watch today, you're going to see nothing but the draft stuff. I guarantee it. You'll see a little bit of baseball, a little 5-minute snippet of hockey, and then the rest is going to be about the draft coverage, live draft coverage from ESPN. You'll get 7 different reporters at one scene talking about the same thing. That's how they work. That's how it works. So, really, until then, watch the draft, get it over with, and then move on from there. Still plenty of sports going on right now. Baseball, basketball is heating up, as well as hockey. Second round starts tomorrow, and I'm just rambling on from here. So until next time, this is Cuse in the Morning, and it's getting closer to June, and that's when I have to make some decisions about this show, which should be very interesting. But it's almost May, and I'm so happy. So spring is coming. It's here, hopefully. Hit some snow last week, but it's coming around. So until next time, I will see you or hear from you or whatever next week. See ya.